तक और कोई हल नहीं है तो ये औरत को ही अपने आप को प्रोटेक्ट करना है. You know, this is the same kind of like energy that is directed towards children. And ये कहना कि जी फिर इसका मतलब है कि हमें तो आदमी तो इस तरह की बातें करेंगे online. That's not the response. What kind of men are we raising? So women online face so many serious kinds of gender-based violence, all the way from harassment, stalking, death threats, rape threats.
Welcome to In Sync, a podcast about the lives we all want to really live and figuring out how to get there. Hi everyone, welcome back to In Sync. I'm your host Anmol Irfan, and we're welcoming you back to the second part of our project Echoes Unmuted, Navigating Technology-Facilitated Gender-Based Violence, with our third and final podcast for this topic. Echoes Unmuted is a project we've launched at Echoes Media in collaboration with WOW Pakistan ahead of their upcoming WOW Festival, which is being hosted in Karachi from the 24th to the 25th of January. As we continue with Echoes Unmuted, which focuses on the complexities of TFGBV, we wanted to bring you one more episode on this topic, because there's still so much to discuss. And who better to do that with than our latest guest, who has been a pioneer in the field of creating inclusive tech solutions for abuse survivors through her work at Chayn, and is one of the people I personally look up to so much within this area. Hera, who is a Pakistani and now lives in the UK, is the founder and CEO of Chayn, a global nonprofit that creates resources on the web to address gender-based violence. Chayn's multilingual resources, designed with, not for survivors, have reached more than 600,000 people. Hera is also an Ashoka Fellow and was on the Forbes 30 Under 30, MIT Technology Review's Innovators Under 35, and the European Young Leader 2020 list. So Hera, I am so beyond excited to have you here today and move this conversation forward.
Thank you so much. That was a very nice introduction, and I'm really glad to be on the podcast. And just to say कि मेरी गोद में एक बीमार 9-month-old है, so आपको शायद उसकी आवाज़ background में थोड़ी बहुत आए, but hopefully he'll be quiet.
I mean, while I'm very sad to hear that he's not feeling well, also I think this is a great way to remind people that you can still be a mom and be doing what you love and do so much, although I'm sure it's not easy. So I think to start off, other than your infant, what gets you out of bed in the morning?
So I am a very positive person. So I have no difficulty getting up in the morning unless I'm not feeling well. मुझे बड़ी खुशी होती है सुबह उठ के, क्योंकि apart from getting my kids ready, which is not fun, and I feel exhausted after that, but then I regain my energy. I just feel really privileged to do the work that I'm doing, and सुबह उठते ही मेरे दिमाग में I'm buzzing with ideas and things that I need to do, and I have a lot of energy in the mornings, which is really funny because when I was a teenager, सुबह उठना बड़ा मुश्किल था मेरे लिए. But yeah, I feel like really energetic in the morning, and mornings are like my most productive times. उसके बाद फिर afternoons are not so much productive, and then I'm very productive at night.
Yeah, I think for a lot of morning people, that afternoon lull is very common, right? Where you've spent all your sort of creative energy and now you're like, okay, now my brain is slowing down a little bit. But also, I think it's for sometimes when I feel my work is getting very heavy, and I think with your work consistently, you're dealing with such heavy and such sensitive topics, it might feel hard to balance your own well-being, make sure you're doing justice to yourself, your work, of course, your kids, they're such a big part of your life. How do you balance all of that and feel like you're doing that justice?
I mean, that's a very hard question. I don't think there's a good answer to that, because I think some days you are better at one role of your life, some days the other takes over. ऐसा कोई दिन नहीं है जिसमें मैं कहूँगी कि आज का दिन बिल्कुल perfect था. I was, हर लिहाज से I was able to balance everything. Every now and then that happens, I think, but mostly I just don't put that pressure on myself. But yeah, some days I will, won't be as much of a present mother because there's a deadline, funding application की, या there's something else happening, और मुझे मेरे किसी colleague को मेरी help की ज़रूरत है. उसमें फिर आपको एहसास होता है कि this is मैं नहीं कर सकती हर चीज़ जैसा मैं चाहती हूँ. And the level of quality that I want to deliver. Yeah, ये कि बच्चे are being very needy, or they're ill and there's something else that they want, and they're kids, that's their right. तो फिर रात को बैठ के काम करना, and waiting for them to all to sleep while in your head that I'm going to be so exhausted, but I have to do this, doing that. But the benefit is खुदा का शुक्र है कि like Chayn, because I was a founder, and I really have created a workplace where we have flexible hours. Our colleagues are very understanding, which means कि मैं meetings आगे पीछे कर सकती हूँ. Even our partners are really understanding. So working in a feminist space actually is such a beautiful thing because we can create work patterns and environments where we support each other, we understand. So अगर मैं रात के 11 बजे email कर रही हूँ, my colleagues know that it's not asking them to reply at 11 p.m. It just means that that time worked for me, So I'm going to do that because that's when my kids are asleep. So that kind of having that kind of support is really amazing. And I know कि हर एक के पास ये support नहीं होती. तो मुझे अक्सर लोग message करके पूछते हैं कि how do you manage it? And the answer is that having this kind of work environment is why I'm able to do that.
Yeah, I think it's so important to have teams that understand inclusion and inclusivity for their team members, not just for the work that they're doing. But at Chayn, I mean, your work screams diversity and inclusion at the risk of, using a very cliched term, but you guys really do prioritize survivor-led voices. How do you make sure that that is always a priority when you're working with the communities you work for? And why is that so important to you?
I mean, I started because I felt like there wasn't enough resources that spoke to Pakistani women and their experiences. तो जब मैंने start इस तरह से किया था तो मेरे लिए the starting point was my own experience of helping two of my Pakistani friends. I never sat down and thought कि मुझे this isn't working or this is what I want to have. It was very organic. It was okay, this is a problem that I've come across when I was helping them. तो इसका मतलब है कि इसके we have to design in a different way. We have to work in a different way. And it just kind of grew from there. And then as I started engaging more with more traditional forms of working, which have their own benefits, I just realized that there's we kind of need survivors from as diverse a group as possible to be feeding in their experiences. Because वैसे तो there's a lot of commonality in survivor experiences, but how people get supported through that, how people can cope with trauma, how they can exit, all of these things are very culturally specific. और एक ही culture के अंदर भी इन लोगों के बहुत मुख्तलिफ experiences होते हैं. तो I'm a strong believer in having sort of fresh involvement from survivors. But what I mean by that is कि एक तो हमारा we have participatory design throughout our processes, and दूसरी चीज़ ये कि especially in the early days we had volunteers, and volunteers आते थे and then they would tap in and tap out. So we never had the same group of volunteers, and most of the volunteers were survivors. We never really had the same group of people working on everything. So कभी-कभी एक ही project के अंदर we would have 50 people have now worked on it over the course of a year or 2 years. And that was the beauty of it, because इसका मतलब है कि बहुत सारे experiences were involved in creating that. So that is the kind of approach I've always taken. So it's fresh involvement, it's rotating that. It's making sure that we're treating all of our work as a work in progress. कहीं से feedback आती है, so we think through it, see how we can reflect that in our work, and also knowing what we can't do. So just being very clear and being designing with people rather than for them. That really is the way we think.
Yeah, and I love that. I think that's what makes Chayn stand out so much in this space, right? But I'm sure there's so many misconceptions that people still have around digital abuse, around digital solutions to abuse. What are some of those misconceptions that you have been addressing with Chayn or that you want to address further?
For number one is a lot of people think that being online is an option. तो अगर आप online नहीं होगे तो आपके साथ abuse भी नहीं होगा. अब आप online हो तो ये तो होएगा. And that's really a terrible way of thinking about it, because आजकल के first of all कोई online क्यों ना हो, जो abuse कर रहा है, that the problem is with them, not with the person who's being abused. दूसरी बात ये कि you don't invite abuse, and most of the abuse that women face, it's simply for existing. Someone posts a good picture of themselves, someone has a profile on Facebook, someone is a woman journalist, is someone who is a working woman, maybe like a model or actor, a politician. Like it's just anything and everything will get you abused because you're a woman. So that is just, yeah, very, very infuriating. And दूसरी चीज़ ये कि जी ये कहना कि अगर आप अगर आपके साथ abuse हो रहा है तो just go offline. That is, like I said, women have every right to be like online. And thirdly, thinking about like, I think a lot of people feel uncomfortable with when they see stories of abuse. So they think कि अच्छा इसका हल ये है कि we start looking for a reason why the abuse is happening, and rather than looking for a reason for why someone is being abusive, which is mostly men, rather than looking for that reason within the perpetrators or the abusers, they start looking at in the person whose content is being abused. That is, I think, a very critical problem. And then lastly is like not discounting those experiences. मुझे याद है जब मैं फर्स्ट टाइम लाइक लॉन्ग पीरियड ऑफ टाइम के लिए यूके में आई थी, मैं एजुकेशन के लिए आई थी, एंड मुझे ऐसे लगा था जैसे मेरे कंधों से बहुत बड़ा जो ना वो एक बोझ उठ गया है, क्योंकि आई रियलाइज दैट आई वाजंट पुलिसिंग माई सेल्फ इन द सेंस कि मैं सड़क पे जा रही हूँ तो मुझे आगे पीछे नहीं देखना पड़ा कि कौन मुझे देख रहा है, कौन मुझे हाथ लगाने की कोशिश कर सकता है. ये छोटी सी एग्जाम्पल है of an in-person experience, but online is the same thing. So women online face so many serious kinds of gender-based violence, all the way from harassment, stalking, death threats, rape threats, people reporting on their accounts to their families, to their employers, किसी भी तरह से किसी को pull down करना, and then all the way through to extortion, through image-based abuse, किसी की private images leak करना, उनको ये threat करना कि हम ये करेंगे, and actually deepfake generators उनकी fake images बनाना. This is the kind of stuff that gets women killed in our country, and it has gotten women killed in Pakistan. ये इन चीज़ों का जो इतनी संगीन चीज़ें हैं, ये इतनी भारी चीज़ें हैं ये, and a lot of people don't realize that this is like so many women go through this. And the devastating impact from all the way being killed to really lifelong mental distress. And ये कहना कि जी फिर इसका मतलब है कि हमें तो आदमी तो इस तरह की बातें करेंगे online. That's not the response. What kind of men are we raising? That we have just adjusted to the fact, yeah, we've just like given up, और हमने कहा कि ये इनका और कोई हल नहीं है, तो ये औरत को ही अपने आप को protect करना है. This is the same kind of like energy that is directed towards children, and children face abuse, exploitation, harassment as well. अब उनके मामले में भी हम यही कहेंगे फिर कि चलें ठीक है जी बच्चों के साथ तो ये होता, it's just like we can't just give excuses for male violence.
100%. And I think one thing that you said really stands out to me because, I think we've all heard this so much that, don't be online, don't post your face online, public account nahi banao, and we put the onus on women and on survivors of abuse to not be abused, so to speak. And that's not survivor-led, is it? And what Chayn does is prioritize survivor voices and survivor-led resources. But when we look at those terms, you've given some examples, but could you also explain what those terms and what that value really means to someone who might be a little bit more unfamiliar with your work or your approach?
Yeah. So when we say survivor-led, what we mean is that survivors' experiences are the guiding force in what we create, how we create it, and what that looks like. So as an example, मैं जब अपनी friends की मदद कर रही थी तो one of the things that they said was कि जी they couldn't find content, I couldn't find content online which was about how to help them heal from trauma, ठीक है, domestic violence का trauma, or even knowing things like rape within marriage is rape, they didn't have they couldn't recognize it as that because किसी ने उनके इर्द गिर्द कभी इस तरह से कहा नहीं, उनको लगा कि उनकी किस्मत में यही है कि whatever a husband does to you sexually is like it's not sexual assault, where actually it is. So when we created our resources on domestic violence, sexual violence, for instance, हमने उसमें knowing what kind of support women are looking for, उसमें a lot of volunteers from different communities and different countries were involved. हमने उसका अपने aspects सोचे कि when women go through this kind of experience, what are the things that come up. फिर हमने उसके अंदर से we actually created the content with survivors again from different cultural experience. We made sure we had examples जो लोगों की मुख्तलिफ तरह के relationships को address करें, क्योंकि there's cultural differences in how people relate to each other. It can happen outside of marriage, it can happen inside of marriage. What kind of like dynamics exist in that space. वो हमने सारे address किए, and then a therapist checked it. And we made sure that the therapists that were checking our content are also from different places, so that we actually have a very like globally relevant resource. Uske baad the resource was released on a course platform that we have created again with survivors. It looks soothing. It allows survivors to kind of go through the content through videos, through text. And then हमने जब बनाया था Bloom platform, this is the one I'm talking about, it's free by the way. तो वो we had everything in a sequence, and then we realized that actually, so when we looked at the data, था तो what we thought was कि लोग ये जो courses हमने बनाए healing के ऊपर, इनको sequence में लेंगे, पहले एक वीडियो, फिर दूसरी वीडियो, फिर तीसरी वीडियो. But जब हमने data देखा, we found people were kind of like hopping across videos based on the title of the videos. So rather than forcing people कि नहीं यही sequence है, आपको इसी sequence में रहना है, we just said that okay, this is the way the content has been created, but you have the freedom to hop around on the videos however way you want. And now again, taking further feedback, we want to make because the videos are around 20 to 40 minutes long, her video जो उन courses की है. We're also making smaller versions of it ताकि जो इतना लंबा ना देख सकें वो उसको निकाल सकें उसमें से जो चीज़ उनके लिए interesting है. So this is an example of like what an end-to-end survivor-led sort of design methodology means.
I think it's amazing how much work you've put into this, and you can really see that. And I think I'd love to know, and all our listeners would love to know, where do you see Chayn going next? And in your opinion, what's the future of tech within this space? The tech for good space or the tech for social justice space, however you'd like to describe it.
We're really interested and invested in creating things that don't exist elsewhere. So we don't want to replicate stuff, and actually we want to use things that are already happening and also encourage organizations to use our work. So one of the areas that we're looking at is AI, for example, is, we've done one experiment. This is our second experiment. Ek experiment हम पहले कर चुके हैं chatbots के साथ, which we didn't think worked well, so we took it down. A second experiment हमने last year किया, which is like helping, we've created a tool which helps survivors generate letters to take down content that's non-consensual from platforms. So that is our second experiment. So like we want to continue experimenting and thinking about the technology that exists, like how do we all play a role in creating it? Because as women, we shouldn't just be consuming technology, we need to be creating it. So uski, we are equal stakeholders. वो चीज़ जो है ना, वो is very exciting for me because जिस tool की मैं बात कर रही हूँ, we had survivors from 20 countries being involved in the creating of it, and it was just really, really amazing to see so many people who'd experienced image-based abuse coming together to create something in AI. AI has been a tool that's been used as a harm against them, but then here they were reclaiming power and creating it, for survivors like themselves. That's the kind of amazing stuff that Chayn wants to do more of, and also making sure कि हम सिर्फ इंग्लिश में या यूरोपियन लैंग्वेजेस में फेमिनिज्म की बात ना हो. So हमारे पास we have Urdu content, Pashto, but I want to expand it. We want to do more of that. Punjabi हमारे पास नहीं है. We want to work in Punjabi too. So we have about 14 languages इस वक्त, but there's a lot more work that we want to do on making sure that we are speaking about women's rights and equity and inclusion and trauma-informed work and feminism and respect, all of these words that are so important in all the languages that feel like home to people.
I think with everything that you've shared, so many of our listeners will probably feel very inspired and want to get involved in some way. So what would your advice be for women who want to get started within tech in this space?
You can start. You don't need anybody's permission, and what I found really helpful was मैं बहुत सारे events पे जाती थी जो tech industry के थे. मैंने यूनिवर्सिटी से शुरू किया था. I started going to events and hackathons and just trying to start playing with technology. You can do it from home as well. ताकि आप अपने उसमें confident हो and just get involved. And if you have an idea, you can see if someone else is working on it. So you can do a little bit of work there. Something that a lot of people do is they start volunteering for Chayn. Chayn में वो एक साल तक गुजारते हैं as a volunteer and then they go and start their own project and that's amazing. I love it. मैं चाहती हूँ कि बहुत सारे feminist tech projects हों. तो इस तरह की कहानी सुन के मुझे बहुत अच्छा लगता है that I am able to play a small role in it. पर इस तरह की बहुत सारी organizations होंगी जहाँ पे आपको उनसे आप उनके साथ काम करके volunteer करके you can learn a lot and then you can start your own. Or I didn't do that. I mean, I was volunteering for lots of places, but I also just started. But before that, I had been going to a lot of tech events and I was already working for tech startups and tech nonprofits. So that's why it's so easy for me to kind of make that step. But you can make that step too.
I think that's a great note to leave our listeners with something to think about. For anyone who wants to know more about Chayn, I'll be adding their resources, their website, and links in the description below, as well as a survey that they're carrying out. So please do be a part of the work that they're doing. And Hera, thank you so much for giving us your time and sharing all these insights that have been so helpful and so inspiring. To all our listeners, thank you again for tuning in, and we will see you very soon with our next episode.